In the last video, we talked about numbers 21 through 40. So, following along with the pattern, it's time to analyze numbers 41 through 60. 6 drivers have taken the number 41 to victory lane. The most recent driver to do so is none other than Cole Custer at Kentucky back in 2020. Before him, Kurt Busch took the 41 to victory lane 6 times. From Martinsville to Bristol and a Daytona 500 in between, he stands at third all-time for wins with the car number. Jim Paschal and AJ Foyt took the 41 to 3 and 1 win respectively. And did you know Richard Petty drove this number as well? In fact, from 1962 to 1964, in a total of 22 starts, Petty got 6 wins with this number. But all those accomplishments aside, nobody did it better than Curtis Pops Turner. Known for his reckless life choices and reckless driving habits, he did everything he could to get on your nerves, and next to nothing in order to beat you on the racetrack. In his number 41, he recorded 12 wins and 9 pulls. 5 more wins would follow before Turner was killed in a plane crash back in 1970. While we are on the topic of history and some prominent numbers of the 50s, let's talk about the most fearsome number to take to the circuit, number 42. Lee Petty is easily the king of this number, with his 53 wins, 225 top 5s, and 325 top 10s. His average finish stands at impressive 7.5. To put that into perspective, in less races, Kyle Larson's 2021 average finish was 9.1. In one season, he sits lower than Petty in multiple. Well, speaking of Larson, we ought to commend him for his 6 wins, tying him for second behind Petty. Who is he tied with? Another Petty, Kyle Petty. After he left the Wood Brothers at the end of 1988, Petty scrounged for every opportunity he could get. He finally landed at the newly formed Sabco Racing, ultimately scoring 6 wins. His best season is easily 1992, when he was in the hunt to join what his father had done 7 times, and what his grandfather had done 3 times. He would finish 5th. Juan Pablo Montoya would then go on to win twice with the number at Sonoma and Watkins Glen. Between all of them is Jim Paschal at 4, and Marvin Panch and Joe Nemechek are ways off with only 1 win. The king of the number 43 is, well, the king. The stats speak for themselves. No one even comes close to any statistic no matter where you look. Jim Paschal, who seems to be making rounds in this video, and Bobby Hamilton each notched 2 wins. Lee Petty, John Andretti, and the most recent winner with the number, Eric Almirola, have notched 1 win. Currently, Eric Jones is piloting it, and it honestly seems like he could add his name to this exclusive list of winners. There's really only one driver that appropriately fits with the number 44, that being Terry Labonte. With 1 championship, 6 wins, and 14 poles, it's easily one of Labonte's luckiest numbers. So lucky, in fact, Labonte decided to use this number during his semi-retirement for a brief bit. Before 2022, the most recent driver to have piloted the number was Brian Scott. Scott had searched for one and one thing only, and that was getting to the NASCAR Cup Series. When he'd finally done that, he didn't have anything realistically left to do. So Scott retired at the end of that season, along with another driver, Greg Biffle. Oh wait, the Biff is back! That's right, Greg Biffle, after 6 years of absence from the sport, returned with the NY Racing team. Now as for the number 45, Eddie Pagan takes the cake, with Leroy Yarborough a ways back in second. But their 4 and 2 wins respectively, they're the only drivers to have won with the number. In terms of association with the number, however, I'm not alone in closely identifying the great-grandson of Lee Petty, Adam Petty, with this number. However, with only 1 start in the number, I can only put him as an honorable mention. With the nod of the Petty family, however, 2311 Racing brought back the number 45 this 2022 season, with Kurt Busch, who has brought that number back to its winning ways. Only a few drivers have won with the number 46, but the most prominent of them is Speedy Thompson, who in 75 starts collected 8 wins and 11 poles. The last time this number was used was under a racing banner that might be familiar with some of you, H. Scott Motorsports with Michael Annett as the driver. The 47's history is filled with intrigue, but is sparse throughout the decades of NASCAR. The first driver and the king of this number is Jack Smith, who has by far one of the most fascinating and successful careers that no one seems to talk about. Remember that first Daytona 500? Yeah, Jack Smith dominated that race, and it was one of his most harrowing losses. But losses aside, there are plenty of victories to reminisce. 18 to be precise. The 47 remained effectively dominant until 1981, when a journeyman driver by the name of Ron Bouchard took it to victory lane at Talladega that year, driving part-time for his family-owned team, Race Hill Farm Team. While Bouchard came into the sport with a bang, the rest of his career was pretty forgettable, and his team whittled away into nothing shortly thereafter before he followed suit. Yet another couple of decades would pass before the 47 would fall into the hands of competitiveness, and this time under JTG Daugherty. From 2009 to 2010, the Tasmanian Devil and Marcos Ambrose tried to build a solid foundation for the team, as Bobby Labonte for the next 3 years tried the same. But neither of them really got anywhere. Ambrose found his best years at a different team, and this was Labonte's realization that this whole full-time NASCAR thing might have to have a bow tie on it. However, for one driver, this instigated a career that they tried to build for 6 years. AJ Allmendinger. Allmendinger took this team to victory lane in 2014 at the Glen, only to never win again, and never really be competitive in the number. Ryan Preece tried his hand in 2019 to no avail, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the current driver of the number, has come close. Talladega 2020 still echoes through his fans' minds. And let's not forget, he has a pole at the Great American Race. Well, as for the 48, the king of that number is another undisputed legend and icon of our sport, Jimmie Johnson. El Cajon, California's finest, wheeled his 48 car to 83 wins, 232 top 5s, 374 top 10s, 35 poles, and most importantly, 7 championships, tying him with the King and the Intimidator, a Hall of Fame career for sure. Jimmy made 686 starts with the number, but there was one driver before him who made 583 starts with the number, that for the longest time was the king of it, James Hilton. Hilton's career, honestly, is a long and tenuous one. It would require a video in and of itself, so I'm not going to dwell on too much of it, but for those that are interested in reading about it, I highly recommend doing so. There's nothing that screams gold when you think about the 49 in NASCAR, but that's a little too brash, especially if you're Bob Wellborn. Nonetheless, 5 wins in over 90 races sum up the convertible King's time well. The number was last used under the Motorsports Business Management banner with Chad Fincham. You might think 50 is a nice and round and easy number that would be used throughout the decades, but quite the contrary. It's number 1 in the NASCAR Cup Series and has a measly 5 poles to show for. Jeff Bodine carried the number best for car owner Cliff Stewart during the 1982 campaign, winning the Rookie of the Year award with 4 top 5 results and 2 pole positions. No one else really brought any fame to this number. Even though it's been barely used in NASCAR, it is a number currently being run. The Money Team Racing has a long and frankly interesting history. In Homestead of 2019, they were seen on the entry list only to withdraw, citing plans to enter in 2020 with journeyman Jeffrey Earnhardt. The number was to be 50 in reference to Floyd Mayweather, who was somewhat involved with the team and his wrestling record of 50 wins and no losses. However, they only had a social media post and a website between then and 2022. They became a sort of lore of the past and built a sort of cult following. However, in 2021, they teased a return again and still nothing. Fast forward to this year, they did it again with the reaction of the fans being, I'll believe it when I see it. So when Kaz Grala was announced as a driver and a paint scheme was seen in the flesh, it genuinely shocked everyone. They actually exist. Many new NASCAR fans recognize the 51 car as the one that rides around in circles in the back, occasionally bringing that caution that saves your favorite driver from trouble. And while Cody Ware and NASCAR's biggest little team, Rick Ware Racing, don't have much success behind them, one driver does, Gobert Sosby. Besides having just about the coolest name in human history, he leads the way all time for top 5s, top 10s, and pole positions with the number. The last time this number ever reached any kind of notoriety is when Kurt Busch absolutely wheeled the number 51 at Sonoma in 2012. It was the last top 5 for old 51. The 2 Premier Series victories for the number 52 were produced by drivers who had brief NASCAR careers. Neil Cole won the first at Thompson Speedway in 1951. And Earl Ross became the only Canadian to win a NASCAR Cup Series race with the surprise Martinsville Triumph as a rookie in 1974. And because they had brief careers, they are mere honorable mentions. The nod to the king of the 52 goes to Jimmy Means. Though he never won with the 52, Jimmy Means earns a nod here based on his longevity, making 447 starts with the car number from 1976 to 1993. His best finish was 7th at Talladega in 1983. Means continues to carry the number 52 as a current team owner in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Nebraskan Bob Burdick made just 15 career starts, but his biggest splash came with the near $16,000 payday at Atlanta Motor Speedway in 1961, netting the number 53's only win. He also placed 4th with the car number in the Southern 500 at Darlington later that year. Overall, his career was pretty respectable considering the competition at hand. 9 top 10s and 2 poles follow suit. Virginian Lenny Pond piloted the number 54 to the 1973 Rookie of the Year crown, then made his only Premier Series win, a sizable one, in the 1978 Talladega 500. His link with the number 54 lasted nearly 7 seasons, a longevity streak that slightly edges Jimmy Pardue, a 2-time winner in 5 years with the number, for the pick here. Pond also won 5 poles with the number 54 to Pardue's 3. Dwayne Lewis Lund, nicknamed Tiny, scored his biggest win in the 1963 Daytona 500 as part of a short relief stint in the number 21, but his long tenure with the number 55 also produced steady success. Tiny Lund used the number on a semi-regular basis from 1956 to 1973, logging 4 wins and 4 poles and 119 career starts with the number 55. Junior Johnson might have had 5 wins with the number, but bear in mind this was an era where finding loyalty to a number was like finding loyalty to a rock. Brian Vickers scored the last win, not only of his career, but with the number, at the 2013 Summer New Hampshire race. It would end up being Michael Waltrip Racing's last win as well. But speaking of Michael Waltrip Racing, let's talk about the 56. After the collapse of DEI, a team that had given Martin Truex Jr. his career, he was left with no other option besides Michael Waltrip Racing, the laughingstock of the NASCAR garage. In 2010, he scored 1 top 5 and 7 top 10s, placing him 22nd in points. Okay, it's a start. The team is running better than they previously did, so not too bad. In 2011, he scored 3 top 5s and 12 top 10s, finishing 18th in points. And in 2012, he had the best season of his stint with MWR, with 7 top 5s and 19 top 10s, making him eligible for the chase for the Sprint Cup. He finished 11th that year. So by now we know what happened in 2013. After some MWR shenanigans to get Martin Truex Jr. in the chase after concern that he'd miss it, Clint Bowyer spun out intentionally, the team was handed some hefty penalties, Napa left the team, and by year's end, Truex Jr. only had the 1 win at Sonoma as a bright spot. If it's any consolation, he's also the king of the 56. Now let's talk about the 57. With no ones to speak of for the car number, the vote goes to Hut Strickland for his lone season with the fittingly sponsored Heinz number 57, owned by Rod Osterlund. Strickland landed his best finish with the number 57, taking 4th at Michigan in the summer of 1989. As for the 58, Johnny Patterson only made 20 starts with the number, but that's more than enough for the all-time lead in appearances with one of the 5 least used numbers in NASCAR history. Patterson also leads the car number stats with 4 top 5s, including a runner-up result in the 1952 Southern 500. Tiger Tom Pistone was a semi-regular competitor at NASCAR's top level from 1955 to 1968, making the majority of his 130 starts with the number 59. Among those drives were a pair of victories in 1959 and 4 pole positions in 1966. The number 60 appeared in NASCAR's first Premier Series race in 1949, with Hall of Fame nominee Jim Pascal driving a number 64 to a 23rd place finish. Doug Cooper, the king of the number, made 50 starts with the number 60 over his brief career, including his March to Rookie of the Year honors in 1964. He won multiple track championships in South Carolina before rising to NASCAR's top division, where he posted the most top 5 finishes for the car number all time. Bill Rexford used the number 60 just 14 times in his 36-race career, but one of those starts placed him among the series' list of winners with the victory at Canfield Speedway in 1950 at Ohio. So, there you have it, the king of numbers 41 through 60. Agree or disagree? Let me know down in the comment section below, and until next time, this has been the news. I'll see you.